Hello, everybody, and welcome to Parenting Autism, episode number 53. And here we are, me and Sandy again.
Hello.
So what's going on, Sandy? What do we got today? What's happening in our world?
What's happening in our world? Well, we just got home from a little mini trip away, and it was good. And we had Thanksgiving since we've done the podcast. We've been to Gainesville and St. Augustine, and just lots of good things happening in our world. I think I told you last week, this feels like a very sweet season that we're in right now. Mm-hmm. And you're like, yeah, it really is. And that's just kind of where we're at. So I thought we could kind of talk about, of course, what's been going on the last couple of weeks. And if anybody's new, we want to say welcome. And this is kind of what we do. We talk about our world and parenting Bryce, who is now 7. And
7.
Yeah, 7. And I thought, I was even thinking that today, we'll kind of talk about what's been going on, but where we've come in the past 7 years as we started this parenting journey. Because, we're coming on the end of the year, and I keep hearing, of course, a lot of people saying, I want 2020 to be over. And I can't say that I want 2020 to be over because it's been as horrible to me personally as it has been to others that I've witnessed. Mm-hmm. There's other years that I wish had been over. Yeah. I had that feeling, where it was really rough at different points in my life. This isn't one of those. I just feel like this particular year, a lot of things were different and beyond our control. But in our little world, all in all, it's all what we've kind of made it. And we had put on the back of our Christmas card, some highlights from this year, because sometimes that gets buried in the shadows of everything that's happened in the whole world. Mm-hmm. But we squeezed some lemonade out of the lemons that we were given. And I think it's just time to reflect in general and plan for the new year. That's what I do every year when I come into December. It's kind of like, okay, what was this year about and what is next year going to be about? Yeah. So in that perspective, I look forward to 2021 because I'm just kind of excited to see what's going to happen next with parenting Bryce, with us, with our world. And I just try to look at the excitement of that. Not that I think that on January 1st, everything's going to be magically different or better. That's not the case. It's all just that mindset, that
I think we'll see improvement in 2021, and I think 2020 will definitely go down in history as the year.
No doubt.
It's equivalent to, I didn't live during the Great Depression, but I think it will have that notoriety.
It'll be in history books.
It'll be in the history books for sure. It has that magnitude.
It does.
Of a lot of change in the world with everything that's happened.
Well, and I think, saying that's really the key. There have been changes in the world that have trickled down to our family. Mm-hmm. I mean, we wear masks when we're out. I mean, and we do. We are mask wearers because we're respectful of everybody around us, or we try to be. I'm ready to get it off, trust me, when I can. But that's something we have learned to adapt to because that was not something we were doing 12 months ago, for sure, and never thought that would be part of our everyday kind of existence. I think we are living out history, but again, it's kind of just trying to hone in on all these positive things.
So here's a positive thing I'll pull out of Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Is that we saw a different side of Bryce after Thanksgiving. Like, after we got home that night, he had an episode that he wanted to go back to Thanksgiving with the family because he missed the family. And he was sad because we came home and we weren't going back to that gathering that we had of your immediate family. You know, and it was like the first time really that he's shown sadness and missing people. And it's kind of like a new development. Like he knows what missing somebody is now. And it's really incredible to witness, you know.
You said it. It's the first time that he has shown the emotion of truly missing somebody. Mm-hmm. And making that emotional connection.
Yeah.
Because he has missed us to a small degree when we will go out to dinner and come back, you know. But this was like a deeper emotional connection.
It really affected him.
And this was an extra special Thanksgiving for our family. It was one that will go down in the memory banks for me as just extra special. And I think Bryce felt that vibe. Mm-hmm. And for the listeners that don't know the whole backstory, it was a little extra special. I have mentioned on here that my dad has had a lot of illness going on the past few months. Well, actually, since March. Mm-hmm. And then he had his stroke at the end of June. And he's been recovering from that. Following his stroke, he's had 3 surgeries, 2 cataract surgeries for each of his eyes, which has been compounded with some blindness from his stroke. And then he had an unexpected gallbladder surgery at the tail end of our vacation when we went to Colorado. And during that time, they saw a mass on his lung that appeared on a scan. So our family has been living with this knowledge since the end of September.
And they really couldn't get him in for the PET scan for like a month or two.
Because he was so weak from the gallbladder surgery. So we had to wait for the PET scan. We got the PET scan results and several areas lit up, indicating that it was cancer. So then it was the biopsy, and we were waiting for the biopsy results. Mm-hmm. And the 2 days before Thanksgiving, we got the miracle answer to our prayers that it was benign, which is still so, it's all God because the PET scan lit up.
Yeah, they're chalking it up to scar tissue.
Yeah,
from something
so,
else,
you know, we were just like, this all doesn't make sense. But then again, what God does sometimes doesn't make sense, and miracles don't make sense, and we're just taking it and we're rejoicing in it. And my dad still has a long road to recovery. He is very weak. He's very fragile. But we've seen his mindset shift to where, like, Thanksgiving, he was in a good place. He was physically a little bit stronger because he was mentally so much relieved. Everybody's spirit was higher.
Spirits were higher.
So that was kind of the backstory going into Thanksgiving. We changed things up, and we had it at our parents' house instead of going to my brother's house because we wanted fewer people there for a lot of reasons, especially COVID. And so it was nice. And one of our nieces was down from Michigan with her baby. And so Bryce hadn't seen her in a long time, but we've been trying to explain to him that he has cousins and kind of helping him understand relationship to each of the people in our family. And so we had said a couple of times, this is your cousin Star. And he even called her cousin Star because we said so many times, this is your cousin. And so he was understanding that Star was his cousin. And then we explained that Storm is his cousin and Haley is his cousin. He has quite a few of them. And so that night, and Star came over the night before, so he had quality time with her, and she was playing his monster truck games with him, and Star's husband, Kenny, also played with Bryce. And I will tell you, if you give Bryce time and attention, he will respond to that.
He remembers.
And those who don't give it to him, he doesn't respond to them as much. It's just the way he's wired. So because she, both of them gave him a lot of attention, he had this connection with him that followed. And his cousin Haley, he has this connection with her because she has a Camaro that he considers a race car. And so every time he sees her, she always engages with him. And then he has a connection with Jessica because she has a dog, and with Cooper. So it's kind of like he finds his own connection with everybody. But it's definitely, he feeds off of what he's given. Do you agree with that? Yeah. I see that to a large degree. So that night, he they were playing with him, and he was playing with Storm on video games. So it was like he had all this family attention and love being poured on him. And Uncle Andy does this fish hook with him. Anyway, there's all these little things. So that night, it was like 11 o'clock at night. Lights were out and we were falling asleep. In fact, I thought he was asleep.
Yeah.
And he just started sobbing with the tears.
He's like, Daddy, we have to go back right now.
He did.
And so at 11 p.m., we had to try to explain to him.
It was heartbreaking in a way. But yet in another way, we're like, this is so bittersweet because we're so happy that he has this emotional connection.
It took us about an hour, I think.
It took about an hour to get him calmed. He wanted to go back. He kept saying he needed to do Thanksgiving dinner again and more turkey to make him strong.
Yeah.
But what he said was so sweet. He said, I need my family and food.
Yeah.
That's what he said. I need my family and food. Yeah. And we said, well, Star's not there. She's going back to Michigan tomorrow. And he said, let's Facebook her now. It's not too late. We can stop her. Yeah. And I thought, wow. I mean, like, he was expressing it so clearly and so touching. So
I think
it was a big deal.
At 7 years old, here, there we were 2.5 when he got diagnosed. We had no idea where we would be at 7, and
nope.
I remember the first day in the hospital when he had his brain hemorrhage, and we had him transferred down to Miami Children's Hospital, and, we weren't sure if he was going to live. And I said to God, God, I just wish I could fast forward 5 years from now just to see where we're at and what is going on in our lives, And here we are 7 years later, and we have this awesome little boy, who is thriving, and it just gives us hope for the future because he's going through this new phase now where he has feelings. And now we feel like we can talk to him and reason with him about things. And that has opened a whole new chapter of his life because, we've had baby steps and I think everybody on this journey sees glimmers of light at certain stages of their child's life, these hopeful moments where, they did grasp that concept, or he did say those words, or he said a sentence, and here we are, we're going through one of these, times with him that it's so exciting, and he's so excited for Christmas. It's the first time he's made a Christmas list, and he's so excited. So we're so excited. And it is definitely a journey that you cannot fast forward through. You have to take it one day at a time. And sometimes it can feel so difficult to get through one day, but the days add up, and we have made progress with him. And now, as he can talk to us better and we can understand each other, the behaviors have decreased, and so things are progressing in a glorious way for us. And it's great to see, and I'm excited. I know. I told you today, I feel like we're in the season of reason. Because when I think of Christmas time, I think Jesus is the reason for the season. But I feel like we're in this season of reason with Bryce to where he understands us more, and we definitely can understand him more. In fact, you said the other day, you notice he's not repeating everything that we're saying. And I said, yeah, because he understands us now. Right. Where before he used to always repeat, and he only repeated because he didn't know what we were saying. Right. So he would automatically repeat. Now, if he doesn't understand what we're saying, he'll actually say, what did you say? Right.
What does that mean? Which is great. And I just want to make it clear, like, we still have a lot of issues we deal with, and
there's a long road ahead
there's
of
a
us.
long road ahead of us.
We're
So
just-
it's not like, I don't want to give false hope, like all of a sudden there's this miracle healing, and no.
There's a box that we checked, and that is being able to reason with
Yes,
Bryce.
and that's a great way to put it, because like you said, along this journey, we have been checking boxes.
Mm-hmm.
Checking boxes and our parenting journey began with the day after he was born and had his stroke.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've been checking boxes all along, checking boxes that he has vision, checking boxes that he has gross motor skills, you know, the things we thought he wouldn't be able to have. And then the talking that regressed. But now, like you said, I mean, a year and a half ago, our goal was for him to be able to speak in a sentence. Mm-hmm. I mean, that was just a year and a half ago.
And now we have
And
sentences.
now we have full-on sentences to the point that it's almost a conversation. I was telling you that the other day when you dropped him off at the office with me for a little bit, my brother came in to the office, and Bryce says, completely unprompted, Randy comes in, he says, "Hi, Uncle Randy, do you like golf?" And Randy says, "Yes, Bryce, I love golf." Bryce says, "I like golf too. I play it on my game sometimes." You know, and I thought that was
What an
so
amazing
awesome.
exchange.
Yeah, because usually when Bryce starts a quote unquote conversation, he starts telling you about something that you really have no idea what he's talking about, especially if it's somebody that's not with him every day. But he has placed somewhere along the line that Uncle Randy likes golf. He's either seen him watching it with Papa, which is probably the case at the house. So and then Bryce has picked up different sports on his iPad. He made the connection that, hey, you like golf? I like golf. I mean, that is huge. And that's what we've been trying to teach him, because he has to be taught these things.
We're seeing a higher level of thinking from him. You know, it may have been in there the whole time, but now we're seeing
It's
it
coming
come
out.
you
And like
know.
with Haley, and again, we're making progress here, but he associates race cars with Haley. So when we went to visit her this weekend, it was like he literally switched his game from his iPad to flying planes when on the way up, that once he saw her, he switched to race cars. And then conversation was about race cars, because he automatically assumes that because she drives a race car, she must love race cars too. But that's awesome that he can make that connection. Like he's trying to find a common ground with our family and with people that he's seeing.
It was cute too, because we wanted to go watch a rocket launch yesterday, and so we're out at the beach looking down the coast for the rocket, and he wanted to play his rocket game on his iPad so that it would launch at the exact same time as the rocket at the Kennedy Space Center. So that was great fun. Yeah.
And you know, it just come to me too, talking about him trying to initiate conversations with family, but he also did it with a stranger. Because when we were at Haley's and we were going out for that walk, and I said, "Hey, look, Bryce," because one of her neighbors was walking her dog. So once he could see the dog, he says, "Hi, what's your dog's name?" Because we did prompt that. We said, "Ask her what her dog's name is." So he says, "Hi, what's your dog's name?" And she said, "My dog's name is Molly." And then he on his own said, "I'm getting a robo dog. His name is Cooper, and he's going to have wheels, and I'm going to walk him." Right? So, because that's what he's asked from Santa. But he knew that the common ground with her was the dog. And so then he could relate and say, "Hey, I'm getting a dog too." And we had been talking with him about whether he wanted to name his dog. He shared the name that he's going to name it Cooper. It's going to be on wheels. And she laughed and she goes, "I wish I could trade mine in for one like that," you know? So it was like this cute connection that he's really forming that.
It wasn't an awkward interaction. It was
no,
you know,
it was legit common interest
Yeah.
conversation. And for him to be picking up this on his own, that's what I'm saying, season of reason, right? I mean, because he can just figure these things out. So that has been like fresh new developments off the press, but so exciting. We did take him to see Santa. That was interesting, but okay.
Yeah.
So since he's been a baby, a newborn, we have taken him to this mall, and it's kind of been the tradition. You know, we've lost a lot of traditions lately. I told you I don't want to lose any more this year. So I don't care if it's different. I want to go down there and do
Santa.
this particular Santa at this particular place. And part of our tradition with Bryce is because he does love elevators and escalators. They have a really cool glass elevator that goes up and down in front of the fountain outside of where Santa is. And we meet one of our dear friends that always goes there with us. So we kept that tradition. We met Miss Marilyn. This year, Bryce couldn't sit on Santa's lap. You know, there's 6 feet between him, and they had a bench and some plexiglass, but it was still cool. And honestly, there was nobody in line at all. Right. So Bryce got...
Because it was an appointment only, yeah.
Yeah, well, and there weren't people before us or after, so I guess they don't have a lot of business going because of the whole COVID thing, which worked in our favor. So Bryce got extra time with Santa. This is the first time, like you mentioned, that he's actually written out. It wasn't a letter to Santa, but it was a Christmas list. And he got to put the list in the mailbox because Santa told him to do that, which was really cool. Him and Santa were looking at pictures. Santa was sharing pictures with him of reindeer and different things.
Bears and wolves. And he's like, what's a wolf? And I said, look, Bryce, it's a picture of a wolf. It's like a big dog.
Yeah.
And then later on, he was asking me, do wolves bark? I said, no, wolves howl. You know,
I mean, it's like he was like having exchanges with Santa that weren't all about toys. Because before, even last year, he just went and was programmed to tell Santa that he wanted dominoes, which we put in his mind because we saw him watching domino videos. This year, he came up with his 3 gifts
all
on his own
by himself.
Because of things that he's seen that he's wanted.
Yeah.
And we cut him off at 3 because we told him the elves can only make 3 gifts per child, you know, because I don't want him to think it's all about him and gifts. But anyway, it was great. And then when we were leaving, he even walked by Santa and said, he said, thank you, Santa, for telling the elves to make my toys. You know, like that was just so cool that he was really engaged with him. And then another little follow-up on that is we did go over to the elevator because honestly, it's part of his thrill.
Yeah.
And he likes to be the doorman and take people up and down the floors. And thank God it's only 2 floors, so it's only up and down. But you weren't in there for this because you were doing a little Christmas shopping. But he actually verbalized what he was thinking this year for the very first time. I mean, because you know he always stems and jumps up and down and all of that. And we know that means he's happy and excited. But this time he kept saying, this is so much fun as he was jumping. I love this so much. This is so much fun. Look at the fountain. This is so cool. I mean, this is what he just kept saying over and over. And Marilyn and I were looking at each other like, wow, we're hearing what he's thinking,
what he's been thinking
as he's jumping up and down.
And on that note, you know, now that he's older, I forget how old he was when we thought he was having the absent seizures.
That was 3 years ago, so he was 4.
So he was 4 years old. He kept just looking into space and, you know, like we'd call his name and he wouldn't respond and he would just be looking. And we thought, well, maybe he's having these absentee seizures. So we had, you know, him tested because he had a history of seizures. We wanted to make sure that they weren't coming back.
Right.
And, you know, turns out, no, he's not having seizures. Well, now, here we are, fast forward at 7. Now I know that when he just looks off into the distance, he is thinking about a prior conversation. And now that he can verbalize, usually the spacing out is followed by something verbal.
Yes,
like
correct.
A question or a thought.
Or a comment on what he was thinking about.
Yes. And so
it's true.
We can see that now, you know, that, and we can, you know, he's not having a seizure. He's just in deep thought.
And he is. I mean, and he does. We'll tell him something and we'll give him quite a bit of information to process. And it's like, we'll look at each other and go, yeah, the computer's processing. Like you can see it downloading. Yeah. Literally, you can see him look off.
He pauses.
He's just downloading all that information.
Yep.
And it'll be a few minutes. And then he'll comment on whatever he just processed.
Yep.
I mean, it is.
Or it may be part of the lightning round of questions at bedtime. Who knows?
Which we do get those. And we've capped that too.
Yeah.
Or actually, you use that and say, will answer all your questions after you fill in the blank, whatever
Brush
we
your
want him
teeth.
to do. Go
Get
potty.
your
Put your
jammies.
pajamas
Yeah.
on. Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say that a little bit of fun, and we probably commented on this last time. I don't remember, but we have the cheap version of the Elf on the Shelf at the house.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think we talked about this,
No?
but we've talked around with a few people. But
Yeah.
anyway, we have used it as some leverage, the Elf and Santa. I mean, I don't know.
think we did.
I know we've talked about
Yeah.
it with friends and family, but anyway, so it has been
Effective.
effective to say the least.
Yeah.
And that's been good. I mean, it
Yeah.
kind of keeps him on track. And, in the world of autism, we're constantly looking for reinforcers
Leverage.
to give
Yeah.
that incentive, to do things. So I have to say, in the months of November and December, maybe that's why we started November 1st. I don't
Yeah.
know. But I know what I didn't talk about was how we almost blew it when his friend Cassidy came over.
Yeah.
You think I did?
I think you talked about that, but
I
I
just
could
think
be
we've
wrong.
told other people,
Okay,
but I don't
could be
think we
wrong.
talked on the podcast. If I did, people just forgive me on
Yeah.
this one. If you're new, you'll get it. But anyway, so Chris and you and I are rookies on this, and we
Right.
didn't get one with instructions. I've heard it's a lot of work. I said, I don't want to do a lot of work. And you're like, no, I'll just get this one off Amazon. It's like $10. We'll
Yeah,
get it.
$10.
All right. So, we rang the doorbell. He showed up. Bryce, he didn't get all excited because he didn't know anything about it. And we had him around. But I never thought about when friends would come over and how they would be about it. So I didn't realize that most elves don't show up until after Thanksgiving. So when she saw that Bryce's was already here, she was very surprised. And then I realized, oh man, she
knows
she knows the
rules.
real deal and the
Yeah.
rules. So I just said, well, I guess maybe because it's his first year, he came early. I don't know. The doorbell rang. He was here one day. Okay. So she bought that, and she's 2 years older than him. So she's 9. So and she's super sharp. So, anyway, I forgot about the part that you can't touch the elf. And so she was a little skeptical, but she was asking what his name was, and Bryce said Elf, and she goes, well, what's his name though? And I'm like, well, it is Elf. Yeah.
And there may be children listening to our podcast too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There could be. So now we understand that, that you cannot touch the elf.
Yes.
And Cassidy reminded me of that when I made the mistake and touched the elf. So fortunately, I was able to blow the magic back onto the elf and
yes.
sing a Christmas carol. And the next day,
He did move.
elf did move and
Yeah.
the magic was still there.
Yes.
But that was a close one but then Cassidy's mom explained to her that it was Bryce's first year, so you get one pass.
Okay,
You can mess up one time,
Okay.
but that's it. So we can't mess up anymore.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's been kind of fun for us.
Yeah.
And I certainly don't want to blow it for anybody else out there. So thank you for that.
Yeah, these elves are everywhere. They
Elves,
help make the
but anyway, it
toys.
has been good, and and all you have to say is, "Elf, Elf, are you watching and listening to Bryce?" And
Yeah.
Bryce,
Yeah.
So it's been fun for us. It's been a good holiday season. The Advent calendar, I've done that the past 2 years just to have a little countdown. Well, actually, we have a tree, and the first year I put an M&M in the box for each day, and Bryce wouldn't even let me come near the box. It was like his, I don't know, he didn't want us even looking. So each day he got an M&M. Well, with his allergy with the dairy, it's gotten worse. I can't put candy in there. So last year I put a penny in there because he was all about money and his games. But I didn't want to do that this year. And actually we were talking about, him being able to reason and understand more. So I figured if he can understand the concepts of Santa and the elves making his toys and an elf being here and behaviors, we have told him every single year about the birth of Jesus, but we haven't really honed in on that. It's not all about gifts for ourselves. It's about giving to others and doing things for other people and doing fun things. And so I told you, I really want to begin introducing those ideas to him. And even if he doesn't get it, he gets something out of it. And then we can build on it each year. So, and Bryce can read now. So this year I put little strips of paper in each little drawer. And I wasn't sure how he would be about it because it's really not all about him this time. But he gets so excited every time that he reads one. And we're we're on day 8. So he's read 7 of these. Last night was to go look at Christmas lights because we had gone to St. Augustine because they have an amazing light display. But when he read it, it was like, look at Christmas lights. Oh, we look at Christmas lights. Like whatever he reads, he's very excited about it. One night was we'll make Christmas cookies. And then the next day was we'll take the cookies to the neighbors. And that was a big thing for him because when we were making the cookies, he doesn't like my kind of Christmas cookies because it has peppermint in it and he's all about chocolate chip. But we told him, these aren't for you. These are for other people. This is Christmas time. And I think that was a good lesson for him to know, you know, you can have a cookie if you want, but these cookies aren't for you. These cookies are for our neighbors. And so then we went and delivered the cookies to the neighbors and he got to hand them the cookies and say Merry Christmas. And, you know, I think sometimes we underestimate kids and we probably in our autism community underestimate our kids even more because we think they don't understand things or maybe they're not ready for that yet or they're not capable of that. And sometimes it's true, but I feel like I want to at least give him those opportunities and try now to see how much of this he can truly process and, you know, and learn.
He is. He's catching on.
And he is. And he's getting that. And so today's, he hasn't opened it yet, but when he comes home from therapy, it's going to be that he's going to help our neighbor, Miss Sandy, with something at her house, like a job. And so I've already told her about this so that he can maybe help her take the trash can to the curb because he likes doing that. But I love that we're going to take this opportunity to teach him about giving and helping and sharing during this time, you know, this Christmas time as well. So it's not just all about presents for him. So
yeah, it's good.
I think it's pretty good.
We're coming into this season. We're in the middle of the season, and it's just, you know, even with everything going on, we see these glimmers of light everywhere, and it's really comforting and hopeful. And
it is. And you know, a couple months ago, we had to make a really big critical decision about ABA and if we were going to keep the ABA services in our home 5 days a week. You know, kind of like a security blanket in a lot of ways in my mind, because it was like, are we doing an okay job?
Well, you want to make sure that we're doing everything that we can for him.
And you don't want to take away
something that may be working.
Something that may give him a better chance to learn and in life, you know, because we just don't know. Yeah. Right. So it was a big decision. And then we adjusted that decision to where, okay, we'll kind of implement the plan, but we get the plan. And I just feel like it's been encouraging that we've seen all these positive things. And even his BCBA from the ABA team. I know there's all those acronyms. But anyway, the head lady there that writes the plan, she said, I think Bryce is at the age where you can reason with him. And once
because we were dealing with a couple of key behaviors that we wanted to extinguish. And I told her, I said, I feel like we're right there, being able to talk to him and have him understand why those things are harmful and not helpful. Yeah. You know?
And we are there. And it's great. And believe me, it's still a very, very much a balancing act. And it is still a chess game, like we talked about the last time. Because even today, driving home, he was trying to plant the seed, because we had a long drive home today. It was like 3.5 hours to get home from St. Augustine, but we were getting back in time to take him to therapy. So he knew he wouldn't have school today, but he was already trying to say, it's a really long ride. I can't do the house today.
Yeah.
It's too long of a ride.
Can't go to therapy.
Then he wanted to go back to Haley's. So he was saying, I miss my cousin, which he does. But he was also playing it as I don't want to go to therapy. Can we go back to Gainesville? Because Bryce loves vacations. He loves vacations, as we do. But we have to come back for the reality. So he did. I mean, I think we didn't give it enough attention to make a big issue of it. We ignored quite a few of the things that he was mumbling in the back seat about it because we didn't want. I'm like, don't go there. You know,
I built it up too. I said, well, who are you seeing today? You know, Miss Karen. Oh, she loves she loves to see you. So, it's just.
And then we played it up that because he goes, "Are you going to Team IP, Mommy?" And I'm like, no, I'm off today. And then you're like, "She'll be home when you get back from therapy." And I thought that could have backfired because he'd be like, "Well, if she's not going to work, I'm not going to therapy."
Right.
But it didn't. It worked out really well. But again, a balancing act. And you can tell when you're right on that, like, okay.
Yeah.
If I say this, if I don't say that, does he have the quiver in his voice?
Doesn't it always seem like something ends up being when you have like a deadline or something, or you have to go be somewhere at a certain time, and then all of a sudden there's the meltdown. It seems to correlate with
time
events or something. I don't know.
Last night he threw that he got untimely upset because he got a new game while you went to go get dinner for us, and then he realized that you weren't there to see his new game take place, which again, that's something you should not need to be there for.
Right.
But in his mind, that's part of his Sunday routine, right?
Yeah.
So when he realized it, of course, he tries to make, and I think he probably believes it. He thinks you're going to be sad that you didn't get to see it. I said, "Trust me, Daddy's not sad. Right. It's okay." But he was so upset about the whole thing that when you got back and for us to go help you with the stuff downstairs, he was on the floor in the fit because he was so upset about that. So I had to pick him up and get him there.
Here's the punchline is I'm coming in with a pizza and you two are coming down the elevator to get towels from the front desk. And you said, "Here, take him up with you and I'll go grab the towels." Unbeknownst to me, all this was going on before I got there.
You did not know because you didn't even know how hard it was for me to get him up and down the elevator to you where you were expecting us.
So here we're going up the elevator and he starts talking about something and I'm like, okay. And it wasn't too serious. And we got into the room and then he's talking about something and then he's like having a meltdown. I'm like, what is going on here? I don't even know. I did not do anything. I'm just here. And then you come through the door. I'm like, what is going on here? And you're like, "Oh yeah, well, he's had this meltdown because you didn't see the game and blah, blah, blah." Well, like you could have said something when you handed him off to me.
There was no time to tell you that in the hotel lobby. I just exchanged.
Yeah. But it was like giving me a hot potato. Or a bomb that was getting ready, the fuse was lit.
Really
here, have the bomb. Take it up the elevator with you.
But I didn't see it on fire anymore when I handed him to you. I thought I had extinguished it.
Oh, Lord.
So sorry. So, see, it's kind of unpredictable still.
It's still, listen,
it really is.
It's a journey. It is. And we're making headway, and we're thankful for that.
We are.
Yeah.
So, really, all things considered, we are in a sweet season.
That was a speed bump.
That was a speed bump. So, the disclaimer is things are far from perfect here.
Oh, yeah.
But things are in a really good place.
You get into a good place when your kiddo can start talking and reasoning, and the light at the end of the tunnel doesn't seem so much like a train anymore,
Not right now.
Yeah.
And I think, I was telling you today when we were driving back, and I think part of the key for me, is I don't want to think about, well, when is it, how long is this going to last? I want to be present and I want to enjoy this season and enjoy this time, because a year ago, if I go back, that's when I was really struggling, because after Bryce turned six, there were just certain expectations that I had, and there was some disappointment, and I didn't know what was going to happen. And I see him now a year later, and I see how much he's progressed, but I'm full of hope, but I'm also full of reality that there's still a lot of areas for us to work on. And social is obviously going to be a big part of that. So even him making this connection with the family is huge. But we went to Cub Scouts last week because we're trying Scouts. Mm-hmm. And I know he does like being there. He still is not engaging with the other kids and stuff. And when I was watching him this last week, he's all over the map. He's looking away all the time. Is he listening? He probably is. He's thinking somewhat
about
listening, but he's studying everything else around the room. Mm-hmm. when they have to get in lines, because he doesn't go to a regular school, he doesn't know to get in line and stay in line. And I thought, okay, well, then these are the things we need to work on with him. I don't know. Maybe we're going to start walk through the house to show him what it is to follow the leader and stay in line. And it's probably something that we need to do, because that's what an ABA tech would do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because we don't have other people to do that with.
Is it that, or is it that he's just so distracted? He knows how to get into a line and follow the leader. He's just so distracted by other things. He
may be, but we have to teach him that even if he is distracted, he has to stay in line. It's not that I don't think he knows how or that he's not capable, but I don't think he has obviously learned the importance of it.
That's it. Yeah.
And also, it's a big deal, like the scout sign, and when the fingers go up by the leader, your hand's supposed to go up and your mouth is supposed to be quiet. Just certain things that I can see that he needs the work, and that's okay. That's what we're here to work with him, But I'm happy that he is part of that and that he wants to be a part of that. And I feel like because he doesn't have a school structure, this is an awesome place for him to learn disciplines and structures that he otherwise would not encounter.
Right.
So that's a good thing. That's kind of filling that gap that, he doesn't get 5 days a week at school. So,
cool.
So I think that's probably enough to share today. But yes, it's been really, really good. We're excited about Christmas coming up. And we also are planning to have a special guest coming up. And on the next podcast, probably. I don't know if we might have one more before, but just to kind of put that tease out there, we do have a special guest that's going to be coming, and we're looking forward to that. And it is someone that is involved in Bryce's life, because, again, we do get a lot of requests for guests, which we appreciate, and that people are finding us and reaching out. But this podcast at this time is really all about Bryce and Bryce's world.
And
things that, things that involve Bryce at this time. And so this guest is definitely someone involved in Bryce's life.
Cool. Oh, and I would just want to give a shout out. Thank you guys for the reviews that you're giving us on iTunes. People are finding us, and you guys are very gracious giving us 5 stars. So
we do appreciate that. And for those who reach out to me, and to us, I usually respond a lot. I really appreciate that too. And we just want to encourage, if you have questions.
If you need an ear,
we're here.
If you need an ear, we're here.
Right. I love it. All right. Well, I think we'll wrap up now. 53. And we hope you have a great day, and we'll talk again soon.
Okay.
See ya.
Bye.